Bronny James, Kylian Mbappe, and Mick Jagger, and plus a few more. This is things you might not have heard. We'll present for you in a moment yesterday's latest in information, politics, current events, and pop culture. We're doing this live, 5:50 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday, so that's why it's yesterday's news to get you prepared for today, at least as we're saying this live in the moment. I'm Jacob and Payne. We're going to get to you these stories that were vetted by you by following our feeds on our social media platforms, Facebook and Twitter. Not ours so much, but theirs, X if you want to call it now. And we let you get a chance to tell us what to talk about by letting you tell us what conversational stories are conversational. The more engagement a story gets, as we post them every 50 minutes, the better chance we have to talk about that. We'll go deeper into how that works out after we do the headlines. So let's get that work done first. Plus, there's some sales stuff, there's some promotion stuff, and some really fun stuff at the end. So stick around for all that. Today is Wednesday, July 26, 2023. Let's get into the news stories for this morning, which are actually the big news from yesterday, if you will. Story number one, we kick off with this one right here. This is probably the most important thing out there for all of us. UPS and Teamsters reached tentative contract agreement to avoid a strike. 5-year deal has been reached between the union for the Teamsters, 340,000 workers, and UPS, the company. Essentially, they've came to enough things that they're happy for this 5-year deal. Now, remember, when we came to you yesterday, we had a story from the weekend saying they were still far away. The deadline for the contract on 31st was coming close, and they weren't exactly talking. They were coming back to the table yesterday, and after a couple hours, they figured, hey, we have to make this thing happen. Go through the headlines, go through the links to see exactly what they're getting. The biggest thing that the Teamsters are getting, that's the drivers, the part-time drivers getting more pay. They're also getting air conditioning in the newer vans and fans in the older vans to drive around in. UPS gets to keep working. That's the whole good part about them. Let's go to number two, and this is the story that we teased yesterday, and you guys made it in the rain, so we were talking about him. Travis King, the private from the Army who ran to North Korea to run away from his problems. The headline is, "Conversations have commenced," that is a quote, "with North Korean over U.S. soldiers," United Nations Command says. U.S. Command, or UN Command, I should say, is making King's welfare a primary concern. Don't want to risk any speculation on what's going on. Now, he's not been seen, literally, since he ran across the border. They put him in a black van, just like you see in movies, and drove away and not said a thing. In fact, they fired more missiles over the area than they've done talking about Travis King, which is, I think, 3 at this point. What do we know? What do we know about Travis King? We know that he was in some serious trouble and was headed back to Texas to essentially be discharged. And in the wake of things, did a Jason Bourne escape from his captivity and, ran across the border to North Korea to wherever. We shall see what it goes on. We want the young man to be safe, and we want the young man to come home, because I'm sure North Korea is not the best place to be. Maybe they'll hail him as a hero for escaping the communists, or I guess they're the communists, escaping the whatever we are to them, and they'll put him on TV and have him hanging out with Kim Jong-un and his kids or whatnot. Who knows? He'd be a great propaganda piece if they can actually play that well. Most likely they'll just throw in some in jail, because that's sort of what they do. They like bargaining with people, not so much playing off the publicity. Story from our teaser graphic: Bronny James, LeBron James' son, suffers cardiac arrest during USC practice. 18-year-old and the big NBA prospect, and of course son of the NBA superstar LeBron James, suffered a cardiac arrest during practice when his college team, University of Southern California, stable condition, no longer in ICU. This happened essentially early Monday, going into Tuesday when we got the information on this one. A lot of people giving special well wishes to Bronny in his path to recovery going forward. Big time recruit, and of course, while no one's taking people straight from the NBA to high school these days, essentially one and done's is the way to go. So LeBron James' son, Bronny, LeBron James Jr., if you will, is essentially picked a school to play at. Well, he can get a lot of exposure, do a lot of stuff, and oddly enough, Southern California, where his dad plays for the Lakers in Southern California. The rumor, which is so much rumor, is that LeBron James is holding on to play ball with his son. So essentially waiting for his son to get drafted where he is, and they can play a couple seasons together. LeBron James actually in fairly good shape going forward. Is one of those things where it's like, I got enough money, I've done enough things. Do I really want to do this some more? Do I want to go on and let the young guys take over? Which he is technically a younger guy. We'll see how this thing plays out. Now, the deeper story of the cardiac arrest goes into whether Bronny James actually had some sort of condition that just was underlying that no one knew about, or something similar to what Damar Hamlin happened months ago, where he just hit at the right time in the wrong place, and it basically shocked his system to get out of sync with his heartbeat. We shall find out more about that because we're nosy, essentially, but we shall find out more about that fairly soon. Saudi Arabian soccer team Al-Hilal makes record $332 million bid for France's striker Kylian Mbappe. We've talked about Mr. Mbappe lately because we talked about the unrest that happened in France and how he stood up and saying, hey, this ain't good, this ain't cool, France. We got to do better about our policing. This was a young man that was killed at a traffic stop months ago. But Paris Saint-Germain has confirmed the offer for Mbappe and has given Al-Hilal permission to open negotiations directly with the players. That's his team. What they're offering is a whole lot of money, essentially $1 billion, like a $333 million a year, essentially a contract to go to Saudi Arabia. Mbappe seems not to be all that interested. We shall see how that plays out. That's a whole lot of money. However, a whole lot of people, including LeBron James, are like, hey, I can kick the ball for $330 million. Let me go. Also, Gymnast is also saying as well, very famous, talented people with other skills want to play soccer for that much money because Saudi Arabia throws around that much money. That's a whole other podcast in itself. There's a story that I didn't think would get much coverage. It really shocked me when I saw it going through this. This is when we posted in one of the overnight deals, so it's technically a this morning story. But the response was so outlandishly large that it's probably going to be one of the top stories in the weekly wrap-up, if not the top story based on what we had so far. LSU gymnast Olivia Dunn doesn't go to class in person for safety. Very quickly from the robot editor, Olivia Dunn, the most followed athlete in college sports, says she doesn't go to campus to attend her college classes for safety reasons. The 20-year-old Louisiana State gymnast star has racked in millions of dollars in sponsorship deals, which is fine, but she can't walk across campus without being assaulted. A crowd of riled up teen boys mobbed Dunn's team's gymnastics meet early this year, creating such a commotion that police had to be called in. That's just one example of what's going on. It's a student athlete thing may be sort of a myth that we all know, but they're still students and still young people who should not be bothered on their way to class. I mean, if they're going to be student athletes, let the student athletes go to a student class. It should be a given. We shall see how this plays out, but this is a very interesting thing. We'll probably talk much more about this for the weekly wrap-up. I doubt I'll pick this one for something for the story of the week, but maybe based on what's out there, it becomes the thing. Good chance we'll talk about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle again because we talk about them a lot. Here's the headline from the story, and then we'll go into basically what is my opinion that's being said by a lot of people who actually make a difference. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's American dream is coming to an end. Why is that coming to an end? A royal expert is saying that their American dream of just sort of coming over here and being American royals is coming to an end because essentially everybody's figured out they're a bunch of grifters. Now, maybe they're nice people, maybe they're good people at heart, but essentially their business acumen and their want for stuff has really gone well beyond the pale. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are fighting to keep their royal titles because it's prestige of the brand. They don't want to do any royal work, but they want to be called the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Harry doesn't want to go back to whatever his actual last name happens to be. Harry is a royal prince and a duke for life unless King Charles III, that's what he is, and UK Parliament intervene and say that he isn't anymore. Now, there's all sorts of weirdness going on with the monarchy there because they're trying to modernize it, try to make it more relevant. Even though many people sort of love it, many people sort of wonder why are we paying these people to just wander around and play with dogs and ride around in carts all the time. Pretty admirable thing to actually say. The royal couple are being seen around their circles as boring and basically canceling large things because they can't really pull the crowds that they think they are. The media isn't covering them like they think they should be. And, of course, we know they've lost some endorsements or jobs, if you will, we can call that. Netflix and Spotify are dropping them from their promotional stuff, their actual producing of stuff. We shall see how their royal standing and how they're just standing in the world will continue. Miami-Dade police chief hospitalized after shooting himself on Florida highway. Big story from the weekend that we finally got a chance to post into the feed on yesterday. A male pointed a gun at himself at the Florida Sheriff's Association summer conference in Tampa. Police said he was released at the scene. That is him. The chief basically shot himself. Miami-Dade County Mayor Daniela Lavina Cava said her hearts are with the chief of public safety, Freddie Ramirez, and his family during a difficult time. Ramirez had announced his candidacy for sheriff Miami-Dade County in 2024. This whole thing has been a whole bunch of weirdness. Go deeper in the story, go look up what's going on and see how this thing happened. But essentially, a cop shoots himself, blames someone else, and after there's an investigation, it's found that he basically just shot himself. Pretty simple. Finally, Snoop Dogg cancels Doggystyle Hollywood Bowl concerts. Snoop has canceled a pair of concerts at Hollywood Bowl. They were going to celebrate essentially the anniversary of Doggystyle, the album that essentially was a big part of my life, and he's doing it to show that he is supporting the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild in their strike. Snoop actually talked out about how the record business and the labels basically screw people out of money all the time. It's something that it's not even legendary. People have known this for quite some time, yet people still want to make music, make albums, make records, and so they're sort of stuck with what's going on. In the time we have right now, yes, you can sort of do things independently. Yes, there's a Netflix type stuff. Yes, there is Spotify and things like that. But in order to have actual mass distribution and actual promotion, you have to have the monster of a record label behind you in some case, and that is how things work out. Some people make out big, and when they do, they find other ways to make money. Snoop makes money in various other ways, so he's not really chained to any record labels. Some people get stuck with the labels, and literally stuck with the labels. Let's talk about our teaser story for this morning. This story is one that we can tee up for tomorrow and chat up. If you deem this one conversational, I think you guys will want to get into this one. People ask, why are we not talking about Hunter Biden's laptop? One, because I can't say Hunter Biden very often. And two, as we say, this whole program is based on your response, what you want to talk about. So if you want to talk about this story or any story, go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/This Is a Conversation Project and Twitter.com/th_conversation or X.com if you must. What happens is, as you engage in the stories, you post news headlines every 50 minutes for you to engage in and read and see what's going on. If you engage in the story enough, it gets into the tops of the feeds, tops of our scores, and we'll pick from there. Monday, we pick the top 10 from 30 stories. Tuesday through Friday, we pick the top we pick 8 from the top 15 stories, you say. And then we put them out here for you. That's how we got the stories there. Do you want to talk about Hunter Biden, who is expected to plead guilty in a criminal tax case today being Wednesday the 26th? If you want to talk about it, it's pretty simple. Just go to our feeds and engage in it and put it in the top 15, and we'll have more Hunter Biden. Why do we have less Hunter Biden and more Donald Trump? Because Donald Trump does a lot more stuff, to be honest, so there's more things to choose from. You get a chance to choose your own adventure in this case and let us know if we're chatting up the Bidens tomorrow. Our sponsor for Spotlighting today is Appsumo. Appsumo is a great way to have money leave your wallet because so many great deals are there by Appsumo. What they do is they aggregate many companies and many products out there that are just like the other ones you're out there using or seeing, but at a discount because they're competitors. They're trying to break the market. They have some new technology or some new way they want to go about things. But they need to get an edge. Noah Kagan, who was, of course, an early person at both Facebook and at PayPal, I think, he essentially wanted to get some great deals and stuff, so he hooked up with some companies to do that, and now he's offering up to you. Appsumo offers up great deals on great products for everyone to use, whether it's your own personal development or to get your business going well. Stop by our website link for the affiliate link we have to Appsumo. This is a conversationproject.com/Appsumo, APPSUMO, just like it sounds. This is a conversationproject.com/Appsumo, and check out a Sumo deal today. Join their Sumo Prime program where you can get extra deals on extra deals, and just tell Noah I said hi because we sent you there. The Conversation Project lives at thisisaconversationproject.com. That is our home online and where we archive these videos, audios, however you're getting this message, plus the newsletter form, which is just the links to things going on and other things as well dealing with conversation. We ask of you to help us keep things going by, number one, as we say often in this show, follow us on the feeds, Facebook and Twitter. Just follow us on the feeds. Just follow the feeds is a plus. Then actually following the feeds and engaging in stories is an extra plus. Sharing those feeds and sharing the stories and sharing these videos and audios, also a great plus with other folks. Get more people into the conversation. And if you think what we're doing is, pretty cool, stop by our sponsorships page and visit one of our sponsors. They're all affiliate links, so you have to actually pay to get us something, but they are all not going to cost you anything extra, and they're great affiliates. Plus, you can also stop by our partnerships page and help directly fund what we have going on here. If you follow any sort of independent journalism or just any sort of YouTube or podcast type stuff, a lot of people are asking for the money to get support. It's how things happen. There's a lot of people who are essentially busking for attention and have the hat out to get a little bit of coin to get things going. That's what we're doing, honestly, what we're doing. So if you think we're doing pretty good with that, stop by our partnerships page and show us, what you may have to help us keep things going. The most important thing you can do on top of all the stuff is just give us feedback. Go to the conversation inbox at gmail.com and send us an email, and we will reply as quickly as possible. There's not too many people behind the scenes working this, so it's kind of hit or miss. We'll get to as quickly as possible, and we'll take every single suggestion into account. Trust me, even the mean ones, if you will. Now, let's get to the fun stuff that I promised at the beginning of the show. The fun stuff starts with birthdays to celebrate on the celebration that is July 26, 2023. On this day, pull out the moves like Jagger. He is 80 years old on this day. So do your funky chickens and stick your lips out because you want to do it. It's Mick Jagger's birthday. Hitting the big 80. Although we'll see how. The Rolling Stones are not currently touring, which is maybe sad. But a bunch of 80-year-olds running around, acting like teenagers does get a little old after a while, unless you're Mick Jagger. And I don't know. He's probably the next guy to have a baby because all these 80-year-old guys are having babies. Anyway, celebrate Mick Jagger and his moves and his tongue and his lips at 80 years old. You may not want to celebrate Kevin Spacey, but today's his birthday, so he's relevant. He's in the news. He's one name that people are pulling out. 64 years old on the day. Still currently dealing with his trial over in Europe and UK, and we're going to let that happen as it is. We'll update you as that goes along and just kind of move away. Action hero Jason Statham is 56 years old on the day, with Expendables 3, 4, 10 coming out in a few weeks, and he's going to be in the next Fast and Furious. I think this franchise is turning over to Jason Statham doing Fast and Furious going forward because it's a franchise. But Jason Statham still getting paid, still making money, still doing great work on the screen. At 56 years old is his actual date today. Still fairly young in the Korean scheme of things, considering that Stallone is 75 or so. He's still pretty young. Let's do our history lesson for today. Today in history, on this 26th of July, starting back in 1984, not deep history, but history as well, Tonight Show with Johnny Carson became the first network television program to be telecast in stereo. In 84, believe it or not. I mean, yes, that was 40 years ago, but it does seem like it doesn't seem like stereo should have been a whole lot done before 84. Yet it was. In 1991, Paul Pee Wee Herman Rubens was arrested in Sarasota, Florida, in a theater for exposing himself. You may remember the Pee Wee jokes for Pee Wee Herman. He had a big little, basically the remnant of his career when the Pee Wee Herman's thing sort of got old, and then he's has refreshed it going forward now because everything's retro. Some folks under 30 may not remember this incident, but yeah, it did happen. And yes, there were a time when if you wanted to watch porn, you had to go to a theater. I know, it just boggles the mind. In 2006, a jury in Houston found Andrea Yates not guilty by reason of insanity in the drowning of her children in a bathtub. In the second trial, she faced on charges. She was committed to a state mental hospital. Andrea Yates' trial was one of those, we have trials of the century every other week apparently, but it was one of those trials that had everyone riveted. It was a court TV style trial where people were watching what was going on. This was a case where a lady, as we saw, essentially she was deemed crazy, and in the process of going crazy, killed her children in a very gruesome way. This is not the type of history we really love to celebrate, but this is a historic flashpoint, as the other two were in our timeline, in my life, as essentially things that happen. If you're of my age, a bit older, these are things that are pretty big. Although the stereo thing with Johnny Carson was just sort of a, just sort of interesting thing. Who knew it took it to '84 to get stereo on TV? It won't take too long for you to find a coffee milkshake, because today is Coffee Milkshake Day. July 26th, we're going to celebrate that. Now, you can sort of maybe, fudge this a bit. You may just go to Starbucks and get a Frappuccino, which is not so much a milkshake, but an ice shake. And because the only place I know that really does coffee milkshakes, does well, is Arby's, and their milkshake machine is always broken. So I will try to go by Arby's and get a Jamocha shake today. If you know a shake place that does coffee shakes, get yourself a coffee milkshake on this day and enjoy yourself. And if you don't do coffee milkshake, just get a milkshake, just pretend like it's coffee. Get a chocolate milkshake and pretend like it's coffee, so you can kind of fade into that one. Fake it till you make it in your milkshake life. One more thing you might not have heard. Have you been labeled sarcastic? Then here's some good news. It turns out that the mental gymnastics required to process sarcasm successfully are of the very type that extremely smart and creative people must employ regularly, and that regular exposure to it can increase creativity and problem solving. Very much a run-on sentence. Essentially, while a straightforward remark requires only basic comprehensions, sarcastic remarks requires multiple levels of comprehension. That is, the listener must bear in mind the experience, viewpoints, and biases of whoever is speaking and assimilate the information into analysis of what's being said. The very short, non-wordy, word salad version of that is, sarcastic people have a great bit of smarts that makes them creative, because they have to kind of roll that sarcasm and have that conversation in their heads and spit out the right thing to be said. One thing that I was really happy to say about my daughter, who I'm happy about a lot of things, is that her early ability to grasp sarcasm, it was awesome, because then we could say sort of things and not have to pull punches, and she could understand it. Unfortunately, her early attempts at sarcasm sometimes fail, because she is still only 11 years old, and the nuances of the world aren't quite there yet, but she understands it. She gets it. If something, a joke goes over, we're trying to throw over her head, she usually figures out what it is pretty quickly. So that's a cool thing there. It makes it easy to have conversations, not so much adult conversations, but higher level, mature conversations with a preteen. With that, we're going to get off the trials and tribulations of me and my life and get on to our day. Today, as we record this, has been Wednesday, July 26, 2023. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and this has been things you might not have heard for this day, that day, if you're going forward and watching this in the past. We want to thank you so much for being a part of everything we do here at the Conversation Project, because it's not done without you. Honestly, we have to use you, and we use you to give us the story listing every single day. We do not take you out there in the audience for granted. We know you're looking for a quick hit for news and some really, hopefully, commentary that makes sense from a perspective that is just a general guy. I am a general guy. I happen to be a former news person, a professional event, and now I'm doing this to try to keep my chops going forward. We thank you so much for being with us for all these things. Follow us on our feeds on Facebook and Twitter. Stop by our website, thisisaconversationproject.com, for more details and things we got going on. Follow us all over the place, including TikTok and also Instagram. Stay limber, stay hydrated, stay on task for all the grand things you are here to do for this great world. And stick with us for another day. Go to our feeds and follow what's going on. Vote up the stories that you want to see tomorrow, and we'll see what stories they happen to be come tomorrow. Check us out. We love you. Let's do this again tomorrow.